So I'm just going to talk into the microphone here for a second. Thanks for joining us. And we're just doing one last mic check. Pat, is that okay? How does that sound? Okay, everybody, I see everybody moving, and we're all looking for that mic check, and we're just going to keep talking because I love being up here, and this is why I stay behind the camera. And thank you for checking, everybody, and we're just going to, I don't love redheads. Okay, that's it.
One, two. 1, 2. Hey, 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Great. Thank you.
sure it's... Tighten up if we can. Commissioner, Madam Speaker, and Ryan, if we could just tighten up over here? Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I want to take this opportunity to thank each of you for being here on the eve of Thanksgiving, a moment in time when people across our nation gather to say thanks for a bountiful harvest. And I'm proud today that we feel like that is what the city of Philadelphia has acquired on today via this announcement. I want to take a moment to talk about the collaborative and inclusive process that led to this announcement. As I've said from this podium recently, we've been hard at work for quite a while, thinking through the kind of government and the kind of appointments we need to make for the citizens of Philadelphia. And some seem to think that we took the summer off, and nothing could have been further from the truth. Immediately after the May primary, we began collecting recommendations for potential commissioners from a litany of different stakeholders and people. And we actually started having informal meetings after spending a month and a half collecting names. We started in my backyard in July. Talking to candidates for commissioner from here in Philadelphia and across the country. Every candidate, I'm proud to say, had one thing in common, and that was they had experience here in our great city of Philadelphia. They knew our city, and I think they picked up what I was putting down. They wouldn't need a GPS to find 52nd Street. I talked to a lady by the name of Sharon Broom, who is a mayor from Baton Rouge. Shania Bennett from my team put us in contact, and she gave me some additional advice. She said the police commissioner, while he or she must have all of the credentials and experience that is necessary to do the job, that I shouldn't forget that chemistry was extremely important, and that was chemistry with the mayor, but chemistry with the men and women who make up the Philadelphia Police Department. And with all of this in mind, this morning I am proud to announce Philadelphia's next police commissioner. I want to commend and thank not only our senior transition leadership team and staff for all of their hard work in this process, but I also want to thank our subject matter experts, because after we finish that get to know you series of intro meetings in the backyard, Philadelphia, I knew that we needed to get the best and the brightest at the table to help convene that process. So to Ryan Boyer, to Della Clark, and to Greg Siegel, thank you so very much. To my team, led by Aaron Platts and Siri Harris, Tiffany Thurman, and to our talent staff, John Salveson and Beth Hare. Thank each and every one of you for adding value to this process. Now a word about our subject matter experts. I began with expertise coming from two former Philadelphia police commissioners, Charles Ramsey and Richard Ross. They conducted the interviews with every candidate that we considered. I was very intentional for these two commissioners have the experience and the technical capacity, quite frankly, to cut through BS and to help us develop the standards to measure what we call capability, competency, and yes, chemistry and readiness, the readiness of the next commissioner. As they interviewed each candidate, I also wanted another layer of observers to bring their insights and their perspectives to this process. For that, I want to say a special thank you to Congressman Dwight Evans, State Senator Vincent Hughes, State Representative Donna Bullock, and philanthropist Joe Neubauer, who all participated and were important, played an important role in that evaluation. I think I also saw the lady who allowed us to commandeer her West Mount Airy house for 2.5 weeks to host these meetings, Kimberly Turner Dixon, and if you are in the room, thank you, Kim. We greatly appreciate it. All of the candidates, you should know, were exceptional candidates, and they know who they are. I've spoken with all of them personally to thank them for their willingness to participate in the process, but at the end of this very thoughtful, careful, deliberative, and inclusive process, I strongly believe that we arrived at an exceptional candidate to lead the Philadelphia Police Department, the greatest police force in the United States. Yes, give that a round of applause. And we believe that our next commissioner will lead our department into a new day and a new era of public safety and community engagement. And with that in mind, I am proud to say that I have asked Kevin Bethel to serve as our police commissioner, and he has accepted the call. Now, we've got to, and we're going to hear from a few more people, a few more things that I've got to get on the record. The promise of safety comes from the ground up, and while the promise is simple, we're real clear that the lift is heavy, and we can't do it alone. I want you to know that over the last 24 hours, Kevin and I have been meeting with stakeholders who are committed to the success of our city. I want to tell you the groups of people we've met with. We've met with violence prevention and intervention community leaders, the faith-based community, health and human services providers, leaders in both Harrisburg and Washington, including the governor and legislators from both parties we've talked to, all members of City Council, our council president currently, Darrell Clark, and the leader I'm looking forward to working with standing to my left. I'm intentional here as well, so thank you, Councilmember Johnson, for being here. The business community and organized labor. In these meetings, they saw that Philadelphia will have a police commissioner who is committed to adopting a holistic and comprehensive approach to public safety. Now, Philly, I made you a promise. I asked you on the campaign trail that if you would give me the opportunity to become your 100th mayor, I would be unapologetic about making sure that Philadelphia becomes the safest, cleanest, greenest big city in the nation with access to economic opportunity for all. That means that Kevin Bethel is going to be working beside me to make our city the safest in the nation. I want you to know, someone asked me, well, Cherelle, when did you know? When you start from where I start from in life and you don't have anything handed to you on a silver platter, and every place and station that you arrive at, you have to do so by being prepared and doing your homework. When Kevin Bethel came to the meeting, he was the most well-versed in the comprehensive neighborhood safety and community policing plan that I introduced during my tenure in city council. You know, and y'all, he had about a book of annotations and notes that needed to be added to the plan, and I was very much impressed. You know, the community policing, hiring more officers and addressing the personnel challenges, the quality of life issues, the victim and witness services, the community engagement and investment, the mental and behavioral health support, and that whole concept of PIE, prevention, intervention and enforcement. I was also pleased when I found out, I was saying to Chairwoman Morgan Cephas, I don't know if she's here, the Philadelphia delegate, she here? I said to her yesterday, I said, hey, Morgan, he's a West Philly guy. And she said, sorta. All of this makes him exactly the right candidate to lead the men and women of the Philadelphia Police Department. And is Roosevelt Poplar here? Roosevelt, are you? Roosevelt, can you come up here, Roosevelt, please? When you heard us talking, Roosevelt, now we're going to try to work this out. You got to stand close when I ask you to be close to me. Come over here, Roosevelt. We need to see you. Thank you. When you heard me talk about the stakeholders that we met with yesterday, I could not get to everyone. They are law enforcement agencies. When you hear me talk about an intergovernmental approach at the local, state, and the federal level, and I didn't know who to call, all of them, and so I called our new president of the FOP, Roosevelt Poplar, and I said, Roosevelt, will you help me? And he did. And I want you to know I'm grateful, but now I want us to hear. And I called Ryan Boyer when this happened. I came from a meeting with some law enforcement people, and I had never heard anyone refer to him this way. But I now want you all to hear from our former police commissioner, Charles Ramsey. I was talking to people outside of the city, and I said, oh yeah, Commissioner Ramsey, I'm going to call him. You know, he's one of ours. They called him the Pope of Policing. Give it up for our former commissioner, Charles Ramsey.
Thank you, Mayor. That's a hard act to follow. It's been a long time since I've been in this room, and it's good to be back and to see a lot of familiar faces. So thank you, Mayor, for all you've done in helping me along the way and certainly getting me involved in this process. The Mayor wanted me to just talk briefly about the process that we used. I received a call from her a while ago asking if I would be willing, along with former Commissioner Ross, to conduct interviews of candidates for the position of police commissioner here in Philadelphia, and I agreed to do that. And as a result of that, Rich and I worked together. We put together a series of questions that range from something as simple as, you know, why do you want to be Philadelphia's next police commissioner, to getting a handle on the kinds of issues facing the city at this particular point in time. What is their vision for the future? And then we got into more specific things like relationships between the department, district attorney, courts, the entire system itself, relationships with our collective bargaining units, FOP, civilian bargaining units, and so forth. And we even touched on Kensington. We touched on the problems that we face there that have gotten national attention, unfortunately, and how they would go about addressing those kinds of problems. Each candidate had the same set of questions, and we rated them based on their responses. There were certain keys and things that we were looking for in their responses, but then we took a look at their resumes. We wanted to know more about them, their backgrounds, education, previous assignments, things of that nature. And we used all that to make a final determination of what we called readiness. You know, Philly is not easy. You know, I mean, I can tell you from experience, Philly is not easy, and not everyone can handle Philly. And you can look good on paper. That doesn't always translate into your ability to be able to operationalize concepts, to be able to get people on board, form the kind of collaborations and partnerships that are necessary in order to make you effective. And so we took all these things into consideration, and we presented the mayor with 3 people who we thought were probably best suited, and she took it from there. So, you know, Kevin, I love you, but I didn't pick you. And the mayor did that. But that was the process. So let me just very quickly, just very briefly say something about my friend Kevin Bethel. I met Kevin in 2008 when I took over as police commissioner in Philadelphia. In fact, the very first time I ever saw him, I was at the inaugural party for Michael Nutter, who was my boss during that period of time. And people coming up, because I'm new, I'm from another city, and people come up to try to meet you, and they're saying, you know, there's a guy walking around here that kind of looks like you. And so, you know, people say that, and you're, oh, you know, okay, all right. And then I saw him, and it made me start wondering, you know, did my father ever come to Philadelphia? Did my thing, is there something going on here that I don't know nothing about? But the reason we became close, and he became really essentially my right arm in running the department to a large extent, was based on his abilities, his capabilities, had nothing to do with anything else other than that. And when I actually had a chance to see what he was about, he was captain of the 17th district, and I was going around to all the districts. And I went to the 17th, and that's when I really had a chance to see in action the kinds of things he was doing, the innovation that he was bringing forward, the juvenile enforcement team, and various other things that he was doing at that particular time. He caught my attention, and when it came time for me to really take a look and announce my senior command staff, and even though he was a captain, I promoted him to deputy commissioner. Wow. And I never, ever once regretted it. It's one of the best, if not the best, decisions I made as police commissioner here in Philadelphia. Kevin is an exceptional individual. He is definitely driven, no question about that. Some of you reporters here know you used to catch me early in the morning coming into the roundhouse, and I'd be one of the first in and last out, but if there was a car and still in the parking lot, it would be his. And he'd be at the computer going over data and looking at where we are and where we need to go. And he's the one that came to me one day out of the blue and said, boss, can I talk to you? Yeah, sure. We're locking up too many kids. And I said, well, what are you talking about? And he read statistics about the number of children being arrested in schools, wow. Right? Which I was unaware. That's not something I had paid close attention to, although I should have. And I asked him, I said, okay, what do you plan to do? And that's when he came up with the idea around diversion and so forth, and gave him the ball, let him run with it. And now it's nationally recognized as a model in policing. So I'm going to stop now because you want to hear from the man here. And by the way, when I saw him today, he actually asked me to salute. I had to salute him. I had to, you know, I had to call him boss and all, you know. You know, it doesn't take long for people to change once they get there. Yeah, that's all I can say. But anyway, it's just great being here with you. I'll be around here for a moment, and let me turn it back over to our mayor.
So much, Commissioner. Commissioner. Again, thank you, Commissioner Ramsey, and Commissioner Ross, both of them, for helping lead us through this process. Listen, for this administration and for the citizens of Philadelphia, I believe that Kevin Bethel is our best choice for police commissioner, and I want you to join me in giving a huge round of applause and welcoming the next police commissioner for the city of Philadelphia. Please, please.
You know, here's the difficulties. But now you all see that Commissioner Ramsey has a sense of humor. When I first be made deputy, I walk in and I like to joke a little bit, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, can I joke a little bit? But long story, I'm at his house one day, and he treats me a little bit in a difficult way, and it was just a serious event. And he treats me like all stoic, and you can't laugh, and I think I've lost my job. But you would find the humor. It's hard to follow these two individuals here. First, I just want to thank the mayor. You know, I spent yesterday, it's an understatement when she says yesterday, it was absolutely one of the most amazing experiences of my life. I saw somebody operate in the space. I thought I was pretty good. I told her, I said, I think I go back and recharge my battery a little bit more. I mean, the mayor was just absolutely taught me so much yesterday. I thought I would go home tired. I went home with my mind racing, talking to my wife, and said, oh my God, she's absolutely amazing. And so I am just honored to be working in her administration. You know, when I listened to Commissioner Ramsey, there's nothing more humbling to be in this place, but nothing even more humbling to be recognized by a person who mentored you, who held your hand, who sat there many nights when I couldn't figure out what he was talking about. And I told him we would play this game. I would try to anticipate what his moves were and write them down. And 6 o'clock, he'd come in my office. I knew I was getting better. By the end of his career, I was doing pretty good. And it's because of his mentorship, and it's because of his support, and because of his belief in me is why I stand here today. I do want to acknowledge, you know, I see Commissioner Stanford behind you. It would be remiss not to recognize him in this room today. You know, me and John are friends. Let's make sure we get that clear. Me and John, when he mentored me, I mentored him.
Wow.
When he told me something, I told him.
Wow.
When John wanted to hear something, he came in my office. And so there's a reason why he stands there in that position today. He did a phenomenal job in a very difficult period. I could not be more proud of him and his team behind him for the work they have done. And John is somebody who I have very much confidence in being part of my administration moving forward, and we'll talk about that at a later time. But let's just put that on the record. John is an absolutely good man. I'm going to move very quickly because I'll mention my mother, because I stand on the foundation of a mother who raised four boys by herself. And so Miss Odessa Bethel was in this room right now. And I appreciate the foundation she provided for me. Now, my girls know when I talk about my mother, I start crying, but you say, you can't cry today, Dad, so I'm not going to cry, right? But I also have, you know, you don't get here by yourself, right? And so people know me, and they call me and my wife like the Obamas, right? You know, I have a phenomenal wife and 3 beautiful daughters. That's understand. For that crew, you know, when I take them in this position, you know, they come with me, you know, and they come with the challenges and the days when I was a deputy and I missed. You know, my big girl is over there and she does phenomenally well, and you know, I wasn't there oftentimes because of the work. And my baby to the right, y'all watch out for all of my girls. But this is my mini me here. So if she jumps in your face, that she came from me, right? But also recognizing my wife. She has been my champion for 30 years, always in my corner, always supported me, always making me. And when I made this decision, it wasn't Kevin Bethel's decision. It was Kevin Bethel, my wife, and my daughter's decision. And I'm so grateful for that. My pastor brother in the back, many of you know him, Pastor Keith Bethel. You know, I helped raise that young man, so everything he tells you I created. But I do want to recognize my brother here. So let me begin by saying, you know, one of the things that I'm really excited about the work that I'm about to embark on, you know, is really working to bring back the fundamentals. You know, my boss used to say, you know, crime fighting is like blocking and tackling, right? And it's about fighting crime. You know, it's about keeping this city safe. Yeah, let's say that, right? It's okay to say that. Yes. Keeping the city safe. Now, I'm a proud Philly cop. I'm proud to be a cop. But we're not your enemy. We're here to serve. We have our issues, and we can address them. But the men and women I see back there, and many of them in the room I know personally, we're here to serve. And I ask you to give us the opportunity to do that, the opportunity to serve you in this space, right? Give us the opportunity to be what you want us to be. Raise your voices when it needs to be raised. But let us be a part of the community. Let us work with you in that work. Yeah. I tell people, they say, how do you get here? For many of you, I spent the last 4 years in the school district. You know, I often tell people, I've been in policing for a long time now, not as long as this guy back here, you know what I mean, but a long time. And very often do you get to step away and then step back in. You know, that stepping away took me down a road of an experience that informs me more today than ever. You know, I walk into a school district, and I used to tell people, and I told the mayor, we used to talk about fear of crime. You know, what is the fear? We talk about them in our orals, the fear of crime. But then I lived in it. I lived in where kids are being shot in front of my schools. I never thought I would take a job where a kid would get killed at the doorstep of a school. And understanding the impact that gun violence has on our communities, on our children, on our families, and our teachers, and all the community. That represents all of it. You know, so part of what I come back into this space is somebody who has this very much awareness of the impact our service has and the work that men and women can do that, but also having this very understanding of this is a expansive process, a balanced approach. I can sit here and tell you I ain't gonna lock up a 10-year-old child for coming into schools with a pair of scissors. But I also could tell you that I'm gonna lock up somebody who comes in the store and robs somebody with a gun. I am gonna talk about locking up somebody who will sit there and kills people on our streets. We are gonna talk about that. I'm gonna talk about my mother-in-law who's scared to come out of her door. You know, my mother-in-law has been in her home for 50 years, but scared to come out of her door. Why can she not sit on her step? You know, and so we have a job to do as part of policing. Our job is to enforce the law. The mayor talks about PI, prevention, intervention, and enforcement. It all works together. I'm a clear example of working in an organization where we did all of it. Not just do this, do a little bit of that, working collectively together to make this work. And so part of I also was excited about the work that the mayor set us on this course is having this very much an intergovernmental approach. You know, I look up here, I got so many friends up in this room because I think I thought I knew intergovernmental work until I met the work yesterday. I'm like, oh no, I just nipped on the edges. I wasn't biting and eating at all. But I have so many friends up here because I've always believed in the approach. When you know, Peace Not Guns with my friend here before he rose to this place, you know, and I see Jordan here and others as well, is that we need to work together. I'm a data-driven individual, and the boss knows that. Data tells us the when, the where, the why, and the how of where we should put our men and women, right? So if I sit there and tell you that most of our juveniles are shot in 5 zip codes, then we should use that data to direct our efforts into that space. Right? If I tell you that my kids live in 18 zip codes and most of my kids are shot 2.5 hours after school, within 2 hours of school, 2 miles of school, then we should focus our efforts in those places. And so I look forward to working with everyone in that work. And a prime example of our work and necessary to deal with crisis is really when we look at the Kensington corridor. You know, from the time I walked in the door with the mayor, she set my charge, right? Kev, what are you going to do about Kensington? You know, I knew going into the space. But also, before the mayor even brought me into that, I knew the issues. Now, I tell you, I'm in a school district, and I have a school, Conwell Middle School, that sits at Clearfield and Kensington, you know, Principal Green, and across the street from is Principal Garcia, Willard. And I can't tell you how difficult it is to see that strong principal who runs a school where they used to have 800 kids in it, have 125 in it now. I can't tell you how unacceptable it is that I have a school now where I have bulletproof blankets on the windows because someone shot through the glass. I understand the issues of addiction. I understand the need to have this holistic approach, but I will not accept the fact that we allow our kids to be so traumatized, we allow our community to be so devalued, we allow ourselves to get into a place where we don't care about the community. The community has told us what they want. Yeah. I've sat in those meetings and I've listened to what they have said. I've listened to the conversations with the council members here who have talked about the work and what they have done. And our responsibility and our duty is listen to our charge and our responsibility comes from the community. Our power comes from the community. And when they ask us and they're telling us stuff, it is our duty to respond. And so I look forward to building the task force, and I know Commissioner Stanford has started to put some things together and build upon what the police department has already started to engage, to have a very comprehensive, intergovernmental, working with the community, working with the council people, working with our governmental entities, working with our state people, working with our federal individuals to make a difference for that community as we move forward. So I'll end with this. Let me be clear that the challenges our city faces are significant, but they are solvable. I'll say that again. Let me be clear. The challenges that our city faces are significant, but they are solvable. Experience has taught me that the right strategy, the right tactics, and the solid solutions will deliver a safe city and make our police department the best police department in the nation. That is our goal, to be the safest city in the United States of America and be the best police department in the United States of America. And we do that with all of you and you representing the community, all of it working together for that charge. I thank you again, Mayor, for this immense opportunity, and I will not fail you. That is my charge.
Get to the questions.
All right.
Soon to be Police Commissioner Bethel. The press said after that they don't have any questions for you. No, let us, 1 second here. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, we're going to let the commissioner answer that question, but I want to affirm that we talked about Terry stops. Law enforcement has to have just cause and reasonable suspicion that a crime has been, will be, or is being committed in order to make that stop. And I will not allow this day, on this day, for us to be taken down that rabbit hole. I'm the mayor of the city of Philadelphia come January the 2nd. The police commissioner will develop the comprehensive public safety plan for the city of Philadelphia. I have publicly affirmed, and I want to be absolutely clear, that we will not take any legal, constitutional tool away from our police department or any stakeholders to make Philadelphia the safest big city in the nation. So we want to answer every question that you have here today, but we won't go down that rabbit hole. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I think the mayor has, as part of her work, has shown that her work to do collaborating. We're going to be collaborating with the mayor, with the DAs and the DA's office to move forward our work. But one of the things we're also going to do is use the data that we have developed through our work to be very transparent about the activities and the things that are happening when we are making those arrests. We're going to be moving forward with that work, using the data to inform the public about how we are operating, what the rest of the police department is doing, what's going to work with them. But it's our hope. She's a bridge builder, all right? And so our hope is that as we come in as a new administration, as the mayor comes in, that the DA's office is willing to work with us to be able to understand that the importance of safety in our community, the importance of gun safety, and how that plays into the activities of the DA's office. But I'm confident with this mayor that we will be able to forge a different and new relationship with the DA's office, with the understanding that it could be at times challenging.
Just for the record, what we want to say is that we are forward thinking. We are not going to spend our time talking about the woes of yesterday. We are talking about building a One Philadelphia, a city united in which every stakeholder who has a nickel in the quarter of moving our city forward is working together. And I appreciate you for that question. Thank you so much. Denise?
My question is for Commissioner Bethel and also for the incoming president of the FOP. One of the things that, citizens have kind of noticed at times in the relationship between the police and the FOP is that the commissioner and the president of the FOP are not on the same page. What is your
We talked about that
relationship
yesterday.
with the membership of the FOP? What is that tradition is? And what, have you talked to the president of the FOP about how that relationship is going to go moving forward now that you're in the
Yeah, I'll let Roosevelt, President Roosevelt Palmer come in and talk, but I mean, I've had a great relationship over my career. So as you understood, with my time in the Philadelphia Police Department, I ran operations, which was probably the largest percentage of the men and women in the field. So I spent a lot of time at the table with Roosevelt before he's been president, and we go into this process with a strong relationship, a strong history of working together. I mean, I understand I have my president duties. I have 3 or 4 unions that I deal with as part of my work. I understand the charge of a union, their roles and responsibilities, the contracts, and holding us to those terms of those contracts. But going into this process, I am honored to be able to walk into that door and work with the president of the FOP, Roosevelt Palmer. He has always been a stand-up person with me. I've called him, talked to him, and I walk into that process also knowing we're going to have our battles, right? That's the reality of the work. But we also have a lot of mutual respect for each other, and we have a friendship that I know will just continue to grow from this. My job, he represents people in our office that I need to work with. And not having him as a steward in that space and a colleague in that space does not help to build the morale of this department and move us forward as an organization. And I'll let...
Thank you, Commissioner. As Commissioner stated, we know each other from the past. We worked together. Me newly taking over as the FOP president, my predecessor, he had his style. I'm going to have my style. My main goal is to, number one, protect my members with all the respect, knowing that, as the Commissioner stated, we're going to have our times when we're not going to agree, but we should be able to agree to disagree with the utmost respect for each other. And that's what's going to happen. I don't bang my chest. You're not going to see me out there, with the one-liners. That's not my style. So I have the utmost respect for the Commissioner from them in the past. The mayor, I am overwhelmed and of joy getting to know her. We have spoken numerous days, and I give her my word that I stand by her. I give her my word that I'm going to take this back to my membership and let them know that talking to the mayor in a short period of time that I've been a president has been so enlightening for my membership. I wasn't a president, so I didn't have that relationship with the previous mayor. So I plan on having a relationship with this mayor. I can give her my word in front of all of you that I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that I'm going to help her fulfill her vision with the people out here in the city as well. Because, as I stated to her, when these people see the police coming, they see officers in uniform, they run from us. They see kids in ski masks, and they embrace them. We're not the villains. We're not the villains. We're here to help you. And that's going to be my goal. Through the mayor, through the commissioner, the city council, state representatives. Believe me, I know a lot of you don't know me, but you will get to know me.
Go ahead, Roosevelt.
You will definitely get to know Roosevelt Palmer. It's not about me today. It's about the mayor. It's about the commissioner. But I have given them my solemn oath that I'm going to work with them in every step to make this a better city.
Wow, thank you, Roosevelt. My Lord, thank you. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, no, gentleman behind you. Yes, sir. Let me just say this. One of the things that you heard me talk about was that chemistry. And that chemistry was important. And I plan to make good on that promise. I told people it will, when we were coming in, that was Kim Turner, said, we were talking about these boutiques on Germantown Avenue that we all shop in. And when I talked to those owners, and these are 5 black women boutique owners on Germantown Avenue, from Germantown through Mount Airy up the Chestnut Hill. Do you know what would happen to those businesses if every day we allowed someone to steal $499 worth of merchandise without fear of there being any repercussions for those actions? When we went through this process, it was very important for me to hear from the candidates what their stance would be. And so we all have to get to the table. We won't point fingers, but I know our incoming commissioner has said to me, I picked up what you put down and shared your vision, and our police department, our officers, they will do their job. And that means that we won't allow that to take place. And we will empower the tool of transparency of the data. And I want to say this, District Attorney Krasner and I, we've had conversations, and we may not always agree on every issue, but when we do it right, it was what Councilmember Johnson and I were just talking about, we will get in a room and at a table, we will have a conversation with local, state, and federal stakeholders, and it may not always be peaches and cream, but if we do it the right way, you all should know when we're fighting. Yes, yes, ma'am.
Well, so sometimes, you know, I hear what you're saying. Part of my work at the district was really to reimagine our work, and we would create this safety net. I would disagree with your conclusion that it's not safer, but I understand that the surveys and what our kids say oftentimes differ from that. You know, part of my work, you know, we would move to do the Safe Path program, where we start to put community members on our safe corridors that we thought had significant issues. Most recently, we moved to introduce almost $47 million capital budget approved by the team at the district to change the cameras at our school. They're not were just inward facing, but outward facing, and cover our special events. We work with our we also did the restorative side, working with our young people around mentoring and be able to have adults in their space to help them through that process. You know, we work with the Philadelphia Police Department. They had to leave for a promotion, but we created these safety zones around our schools, particularly identifiable zones where we thought we had challenges. And that list goes on of the things we've both done, both externally and externally, and both as a restorative way, but also in a use of different tools and technology. Most recently start to introduce drone technology, into our space. And so part of what we see, but here's the thing, we've had a significant drop-off from our number of students who've been shot across the city at our schools. So every active student who gets shot or killed in our community, we work with the police department to notify our prevention and intervention team to go out and provide supports, trauma supports for those families and students. Those numbers has reduced. You know why? Because as you see the gun violence start to go down, we've had a drop in the gun violence, whether it be shootings and homicides. We can see the impact it has on our schools. So we also see the connectivity of that as well. And so we are, I believe we have made the schools safer, but I understand, you know, sometimes those perceptions, particularly for many of them schools, differ depending on where they are. Many of our schools are located in some of the most challenging communities in America. Right? And many of our kids deal with a significant level of violence, not just going at the school itself, but going to and from. But part of my charge from the mayor and part of her safety plan is that I do something about that. And so you will see as we evolve and my position evolves, you will see us start to see a much more proactive approach from the Philadelphia Police Department as our kids moving through into the system. I shared some data with us earlier, then we should be acting upon that data. So my charge as part of the mayor's plan, and I'll be moving forward, is to add another layer of safety for our kids. It is unacceptable that children go to school, feel unsafe going to and home from school. That's something that cannot continue to happen, and we should work hard to reduce that fear.
Thank you. Listen, I've been reminded that there is an exciting promotional ceremony about to take place in 10 more minutes, and many of the people who are here are expected to be in that ceremony. So this is going to be the final question. However, if there's anyone here who has any follow-up questions, members of our team will be here, and we're going to make sure that we stay to get those answered. But after this question, we will conclude the press conference.
Thank you. Mr. Bethel, can you ensure public safety when you have a shortage of nearly 1,000 police officers? And what is your strategy to both hire more officers and retain the ones that you have?
So there's been work underway in Harrisburg. Most recently, the legislation changed to be able to remove some of the barriers to the hiring process. So we think that's going to be a significant advantage for us as we move through this process. I mean, some of the other activity we're going to do, as you saw in the mayor's plan, starting to identify more civilian positions where we can move officers, civilians into positions where officers continue to hold now, and move them into those positions. Really haven't, most recently, there's been a significant investment by the city into a recruitment strategy, but we also have to recognize our gaps. You know, the police department wasn't built like that to be this recruitment and do this marketing. So we also have to lean on, when I listened to the mayor yesterday, I realized, oh, we got a lot of work to do, because when I listen to the team and the work that's being done, we have to bring those people who have expertise in this space, you know what I mean, to be able to bring that, that to bear. The mayor always talks about workplace development. When we talked to the team the other day, how do you take these activities that's happening with many of the unions and other entities and create that pathway for people to become police officers? It's a comprehensive strategy, because even if I put 1,000 officers in the academy today, they won't be out until after the summer of next year, right? And so we understand it, but also looking at right size in the police department. We really, as a leader of the organization, have to really look where all the officers are. Where do we have, because at the end of the day, the service to the people at the point of the arrow is where most of our resources would be. And so part of my charge too is to make those difficult decisions that the mayor said. Some people are comfortable and may not be as comfortable as we move through this process, because my charge is to respond to the 2.5 million calls and services that come into the 911 every year. And part of that has to be, the bulk of your police department has to be on the operations side. And so we're going to do a multi-pronged approach. And there were some amazing individuals I met yesterday who were willing to step up and support us as that charge. But we recognize it is a significant challenge. But part of that, and I'll end with this. If we continue to have the narrative that being a cop is the worst thing ever, and if we continue to perpetuate this narrative that listen, I'm a young cop at 22 years old, and somebody was in a barbershop and said, you want to be a cop? I done dropped out of college, trying to figure out what I want to do, and I filled out an application, and look where I stand today, right? And so, you know, so sometimes. My wife is a detective. She was born in North Philadelphia. Her mom, you know what I mean, in a tough community. Her mom's also a single parent, and my wife will retire after almost close to 30 years as well, you know, as a detective. And so we can tell you these stories of those of us who come from the community and came into these positions and been able to thrive and be these so important people. So part of my narrative change is we have to have hope. We have to exude that hope. Say we can be a better city, and then make people who want to say, hey, guess what? I want to be a part of that. So I'll say to anybody listening, any young person, we don't have to be young, anybody who wants to come in a job, join our team. We have an amazing, amazing product. We want you to be a part of the solution. We want a diversity. We want all that. And so we want you to be part of our team, and I think that's where we go to get to that place.
Wow. Listen, thank you all so very much for being here today. Really proud Philadelphia, and I don't think we could have started the beginning of tomorrow, Thanksgiving, with anything better in knowing that Kevin Bethel will be the police commissioner in 2024. Thank you all. Can we